Welcome back to Control Alt Lead, the podcast from computing where we talk to IT leaders about what is moving in the market. This week, I'm talking with Karen Byer, the lead project manager at PA Consulting, about business resource groups. Now, you may not know what business resource groups are, but they're voluntary, employee-led groups whose members share a common passion. It could be anything from gaming to hiking to inclusivity. Karen is chair of the UK RISE Business Resource Group, or BRG, which deals with racial inclusivity and social equity. Now, these resource groups can be really key to help people feel both needed and safe at work. Everyone agrees that that's morally the right thing to do, but not everyone can make the time to get involved. So we talk about how Karen has made sure to keep the time commitment low, but impactful. We've also talked about the retention of diverse staff, which isn't often discussed, with all the focus being on recruitment. And finally, hopefully, it has ignited your own passion to start a BRG. So we talk about why and how IT leaders can set up their own resource groups. Please enjoy. Karen, thanks so much for joining me today. You chair UK RISE at PA Consulting, so perhaps you can start off by telling us what the Business Resource Group is all about.
Yes, certainly. So the RISE BRG stands for Racial Inclusion and Social Equity. And the network has been running for over 4 years now, and I've been the chair for the last 3 years. We now stand at approximately 800 members of colleagues who identify as being either from a diverse background or those who are passionate allies. And the network has grown over the last 2 years from 1 to now 5 faith groups, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a fantastic growth, and having only been together for 4 years now, it already sounds like you're making some real progress. So I suppose I'd like to ask you about some of your major wins, some of the things you're most proud of, having been chair for the last 3 years.
Yes, no, that's a great question. So the most recent win for the network, I would say, is the rollout of a minority ethnic mentoring program. So this was born out of some focus groups that we ran with colleagues and some analysis of our ethnicity data. We identified that there were some positive outcomes as a result of previous recruitment and training initiatives, but there were still some opportunities we felt to increase the performance and progression of some of our diverse colleagues. So our mentoring program has just under 200 participants who have been paired based on their career aspirations and areas where they feel they need some additional support. So this was rolled out in the summer of 2024, and already we've had some really positive feedback on this around mentees feeling that they can develop new networks, have a safe space to discuss their career path, and some are using the sessions as a bit of a sounding board and review for promotion cases. So aside from that, we've got another two that I think I want to cover. We've had some initiatives around something called our big conversation. So that's really trying to create opportunities to develop inclusive behaviours between colleagues and really sort of fostering a mindset to want to have a safe environment, want to develop deeper connections. So one way we're doing that is running small sessions, really sort of team meeting level, to create a safe space to hear and listen to others' lived experiences and to build connections and hopefully turn those into deeper relationships. So it's not just something that can benefit you whilst you're in the workplace, but you can take that outside of the workplace and look at how, we as humans connect with others. So it's just building up some techniques around how to do that. And I think lastly, our flagship event for this year was around Black History Month, where we welcomed David Olusoga as our guest speaker in his capacity as a historian, author and presenter, and he really delivered really such a thought-provoking discussion around the history of race and identity in Britain, and we had some really fantastic feedback from those of diverse backgrounds, and really from allies who felt that they were challenged in the way they were thinking.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like there's a huge amount of work going on at the Rise BRG. So my obvious question then, everyone is pretty overloaded, especially working in tech. So how do you encourage people to get involved without, without further adding to their workload?
Yeah, so this is a real issue, and Rise is really mindful that we provide opportunities based on, different levels of effort required by colleagues. So this can range from a colleague being an advocate for a diverse colleague who isn't in the room, organising local events, attending firm-wide events, and sharing the impact it's had on you. So a lot of our initiatives really are led by volunteers doing things side of desk, and sometimes it's just really quite overwhelming to see the impact it's made, and that's by a number of people taking the time out to do small things, but then together it makes such a massive impact. So I think really providing opportunities where there are varying amounts of impact. So, attending the events, reviewing material that already exists within the organisation, writing an article for a newsletter. So it's just finding those opportunities to, get involved in celebrating and learning more about others, really.
That's fantastic. Has UK Rise actually made a notable difference to, say, recruitment of people from diverse backgrounds or retention of them?
Yeah, so I think there's really two parts to that question. The recruitment side, we've done some fantastic work in looking at our sources of colleagues coming in, whether that be at places of higher education, such as universities around the UK and beyond, looking at where there are groups of resources which we don't usually tap into. So it's asking colleagues, how did you find out about PA? So it's really expanding our net just to make sure that we do capture a wide range of people that suit our skill set. So we've done some fantastic work in that area. The second point around retention, so that's where there are some more challenges for us. So what we have found is that really listening to what challenges are being faced by our colleagues once they are here at PA can really sort of focus the BRG as to where there are gaps and where changes may need to be made. So I think once you've listened to those colleagues, I feel it's the BRG's responsibility to then come up with changes that will really make an impact. So what we're trying to do is make and create spaces for people to feel that they can share and be heard and thrive. So, you go to work however many days a week, and you want to feel that where you are, you feel a sense of community. So it's making things happen and opportunities arise for people to feel they're part of a community. So for a large number of our colleagues, it's working well, but there are a pocket of colleagues or a group of colleagues who are facing some different challenges. So I think listening to where they're finding those challenges, looking, I think, honestly at what the organisation is doing to address those, and just coming up with ideas and things that we can do to support the firm to to implement those, and look at 6 months, a year down the line to see what impact we've made on retaining our talented people.
So recruitment is often the thing that gets the attention, but you say that there's a lot that you're doing on retention as well, which is great. But what would you say to IT, or what would your advice, I suppose, be to IT leaders or other companies who want to retain staff but don't have a dedicated resource group like you do at PA Consulting?
So I think it's just to be careful about what the remit of a BRG is. So we are a voice for our members, but there are others higher up in organisations which have the power and are really willing to make changes. So it's not to feel that the onus is completely on the BRG. I feel that the BRG that I work with it is fully supported by other dedicated teams who have, you know, the strategic impact and influence to make our ideas actually come to fruition. So I think it's definitely pursuing with finding out what your members, what your colleagues are wanting to make and see happen differently, and then putting those forward. So, you know, try and do a bit of consultancy where you're saying, well, I've got a bit of a problem, but here are some solutions. And then it's for someone to say, actually, we can definitely do this, or BRG, we need your help. So it's shifting where that focus is on the BRG to be doing it all. There are definitely a number of other teams that do support us.
Okay, acknowledging that you get the support from other teams, what do you think makes a BRG successful in creating a meaningful impact throughout their business?
Yeah. So I think hearing testimonials from diverse colleagues about the positive impact that you've made on their experience, on their career journey within the organisation is really a powerful thing to hear. And I think also not to forget our allies. And I think from sort of one event that we held earlier on in the year, and the amount of feedback that we got from our allies around how it challenged their way of thinking, it got them seeing things in a new way. So that was, I think, unexpected. I hadn't sort of set that expectation to make such a change outside of our diverse colleagues. So that was really refreshing to hear, that people are passionate, wanting to hear, and are open to change. So I think hearing people's stories is really a powerful thing. But I think where it's another making impact thing to happen is where DE&I is on the agenda, not just as it's any other business, but it's there sort of front and center as with other business critical topics. So that's starting to happen more and more now. So I think it's making sure that you've got those regular touch points with your members, so you're hearing those stories and you're hearing the impact, and then you can sort of shout about it and share that back.
Is a BRG, like you have at PA, is that a suitable way to address these kind of topics for every company? Or is it only, do you need a specific kind of company structure to support that?
No, so I think definitely it's been born out of people who are passionate about a topic. So I'll give you an example. We had at the beginning of, I think, 2022, 2 faith groups, and we now have 5. So that increase in number has been because a single colleague has said, I want to feel part of a community, and the community I want to feel part of isn't fully represented here. So I want to set up something. So I think that was a really brave thing to do, to say, actually, I've identified a gap and I want something done about it. And we took that on, and a faith group was set up within a short period of time. We identified someone who wanted to be a sponsor of that faith group, and that faith group is definitely thriving. So I think there doesn't have to be a set structure. I think you just need to have the right people who want to do something, and then that support to maybe make that a bit more structured in terms of their planning and some of their ideas. Then that can be where the BRG can support by having that wider team. But definitely it's with passionate people who have the right mindset to want to do something, not necessarily themselves, but with support of a number of other colleagues.
Well, there is one thing that tech doesn't lack, and that is passionate, driven people. So perhaps that will be more IT leaders listening to this and setting up their own BRGs and their own companies. So with that in mind, what should those people, those other IT leaders, know to start, or where should they start with creating or supporting BRGs in their own company?
Yeah, I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they look to see what already exists. So a BRG isn't spun up and then lots of things start happening. There are always pockets and groups of people who, just by the nature of being a human being, connect and form relationships with people. So I think it's looking at what is already being done and then looking at how you can support that more formally. People have lots of great ideas about what change they want to see, or things that are already being done but want to see more of that being done. So I think it's asking people, what are they doing, what more would they like to do, and then showing them how they can be supported. I think by asking the question in the first instance, you'll be really, I think, surprised about how much is going on, but it's not necessarily amplified across the firm. So reach out to your colleagues, find out what they're doing, and ask them what they would like to do. And then you can find out how you can support them in maybe a more structured way.
Excellent. Karen, thanks so much for joining me today. And yeah, well, I hope our audience has enjoyed it as much as I have.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to talk about a subject that I am certainly passionate about, and hope others get some inspiration too. Thank you.
Absolutely, that's a worthy goal. All right, thanks a lot, Karen. Thanks for listening to this episode of Control, Alt, Lead. We've got many, many more IT leader interviews to come to prepare you for the year ahead. And of course, if you've got your own project you'd love to tell the world about, please do get in touch. As always, head over to computing.co.uk to read more IT leader interviews, research, and analysis. See you soon.